Hello everyone, welcome to another Narc Survivor live video. Yesterday I was at the beach, today at this park, and I'm hoping it's going to be better signal here because I know yesterday it kept cutting off. And for this video I've made some notes which I will be looking at throughout this video and expanding on what I've written down. Of course, there are a number of reasons why a narcissist can't move on, but in this particular video I'm going to outline 5 of the main reasons. And I believe that this will be a very eye-opening video, and it will make a lot of sense to you. For those of you who are being chased, you're being hunted down by this narcissist, who no matter what, just will not leave you alone. Yes, there are a number of reasons for that, which I'm now going to get into. But before I do, please give this video a thumbs up down below. Hit subscribe and click all notifications so that you will be notified when I go live in the future. And if you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. So let's get into the first reason why the narcissist will never move on. The narcissist will never move on because of rejection, because they feel rejected by you. And here's the thing, this may be something that you're not even aware of, because narcissists are extremely paranoid and hypervigilant. Remember, they operate with a false self, so they're constantly scanning the environment. They're scanning your body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. And maybe even your text messages as well. They're looking for any signs of opposition or disapproval, anything that goes against their narrative, anything that invalidates them. So they're looking for any possible signs of rejection. And of course, if you're looking for evidence of something, if you're looking hard enough for it, at some point you're going to find it. For any argument and whatever article you can find online, guaranteed I can find another article that will support an opposing argument, and it will be just as convincing. And that is the case with these narcissists a lot of times. Even though we may be going along with their agenda, it's like no matter how much you conform, no matter how much you avoid showing any signs of defiance, rebellion, or opposition, it's never enough. They're never satisfied. They will never feel fully 100% comfortable around you or anyone. And that is why they're constantly scanning you. They're scanning the environment, looking for any signs of rejection. And of course, by doing that, they always end up finding it. So inevitably, and this is how there's billions of views on these videos on YouTube, because it really is inevitable that at some point they're going to feel rejected by whoever they're around, whoever they're with, and then it will cause a narcissistic injury. So that's the first reason why the narcissist will never move on. And this then leads me into the second reason, which is shame avoidance. So they feel rejected, But now they're doing everything they possibly can to avoid reflecting on the fact that they feel rejected, or that they were rejected. Because even though you may not be fully aware of it, of how you may have rejected them, you may just have disapproved of something they said or did. It could have been something so minute, something so small. It could be something where maybe they left the toilet seat up and you didn't even talk about it, but they could just sense it. They could just see that something shifted in your energy when you returned from the bathroom. So it could be something as small as that. That could be enough to set them off, because then it invalidates their faultless and flawless false image. But that's just an example. It could be anything, and a lot of times people don't even know what they've done wrong when they're dealing with narcissists, because many of them are covert. So the second reason is shame avoidance, and that then leads to them deflecting their shame onto you. So then they're going to start blaming and shaming you. And you may wonder, where is this coming from? It just comes out of nowhere. It's like for no reason at all. They're just suddenly nitpicking and fault finding. They're looking for anything to be wrong with you. And it's because they are trying to avoid reflecting on their shame. And that then leads them to create a false narrative. And they create a false narrative to try and invalidate you. Because, going on to the third reason, they are envious and jealous of you. They know that you will be better without them. They know that you will be a lot happier. Of course, they're not completely delusional. They do understand the effects that their energy and behavior has on people. They are aware of that. And that is why they're so possessive and controlling. It's why they try to contain you. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is you will go off on your own, and then you will realize how much better you are without them, how much better off you are. And you will also begin to realize that other people treat you a lot better. Other people treat you with more respect. And then you're just never going to go back to them, and they already know that. So that is why they then try to contain you. And they make it difficult for you to leave. Which then takes us to the fourth reason the narcissist will never move on. And that is because of their white lies, which acts as perception management. So initially they start telling little lies. They lie about little things. But gradually this accumulates into bigger and bigger lies. So initially they may have just told one lie, but then to cover that up, they then had to tell dozens of lies, hundreds of lies. And then they just become this pathological liar. It's like nothing that comes out of their mouth is true. Everything is false. Nothing is real about them anymore. And it may not have been before, but at least back then you were going along with it. You thought that it was true. You thought that it was real. But it gets to a point where all they can do is lie to you. They can't be honest with you about anything. Everything is a lie. And then that's when it then leads them into smear campaigns. Now they start smearing your name. They start talking about you behind your back. They start telling people all of these negative things about you, making false accusations. And this is all just to cover up a lie. That's the reason for this false narrative and for the smear campaign. It's perception management. It's to protect their false image. And that's how you will see that they've got so much to say about you, but nothing negative to say about themselves. That's how you know that it's a smear campaign. That it's not true, that it's not real, because otherwise they would have something to say about themselves as well. They would take some personal responsibility. But of course they don't, because it's all lies. But once they've told all of these lies, it really just gets to a point where it becomes easier and more beneficial to them to just contain you. And it gets to a point where I honestly believe that if they could, if a narcissist had the power to do that, they would rather brainwash the entire world than to reflect and try to change anything about themselves. As we may often see with politicians, people in positions of power, we may often see that with them. And that's what a narcissist could end up doing if they had the power to do that. Because they believe that it would be easier for them to contain you rather than to have to reflect on anything about themselves, because it's too much work for them to do that. They look at it like, where would they start? They wouldn't know where to start, because their entire lives they've been doing the same thing again and again. They are stuck in a never-ending cycle that they will never get out of. And all they do is just repeat the cycle again and again in order to manage other people's perceptions of them so that they can stay under the radar. But as a result of that, they never learn, change, or grow. They stay the exact same way for the rest of their lives. And now the final reason, the fifth reason, why the narcissist will never move on. And this is really a big reason. It's their anxiety, their boredom, their depression. All of this is going on in their minds. They're never at rest. When they first got involved with you, they idealized you. They put you high up on a pedestal. And they did that because by idealizing you, it then puts them up there as well. Because the way that they envision it in their heads is that the way that their mind works is that if they're around you, if they're in your proximity, and if you're wanted to be involved with them, then that must mean that they're on your level. It must mean that they're the same as you. But then, of course, it then moves to the devaluation phase because you notice something you don't like about them. And then they just want to destroy you because they want to destroy this reflection of themselves that they don't like, even though it may be somewhat closer to the reality of how things actually are. But when they see you moving on, it causes them a lot of anxiety. Because they have these fantasies in their minds, these grandiose delusions, not only of themselves, but of you. And they're constantly just wondering what they might be missing out on. what you may be doing without them now that they're not there. And I mean, life is never perfect for any of us. We all have ups and downs, we all have good days and bad days. But they're not thinking of anything bad or negative to do with you after you've moved on. They're envisioning you living your best life without them. Like now you're finally free, you're finally happy. That's how they're thinking of it. Now you're having a good time without them. So it causes them a lot of unrest, a lot of anxiety, where they're just constantly thinking of how much happier you must be than them. How much better your life must be than theirs. And it creates a lot of bitterness and resentment inside them. They feel like it's so unfair. It's like they're just sitting alone at home and they're not doing anything interesting. And they're thinking that you're out there, you're having such a great time without them, and it makes them miserable. This is why when you do move on, one of the first things you might notice if you go into their social media, suddenly they're off flaunting their new supply. And remember, initially when you first met them, they were mirroring you. They're mirroring you again by doing that, and it's to try to ease the anxiety, and also because of their boredom. They're always bored. They can't find any happiness or fulfillment in anything. They couldn't find any fulfillment with you. And as we know, narcissists, they like to target the most outgoing, adventurous people. People who always have something going on in their lives, because otherwise what would be the point? I mean, why would they target someone who's boring? They target people because they're bored. So they want to target someone who's fun, someone who's going to distract them. And that's why they then mirror this back to you. Essentially, they reflect a version of you back to yourself to make you feel like you're missing out on that. When the reality is, they're actually depressed, and that's why they're still concerned about you. Because they're in a state of depression. I can tell you that if a narcissist, rather than being depressed, is actually in a state of elevation, they're not going to be thinking about you. They're not going to be worried about what you're doing. They're not going to be triangulating you with another person. They're not going to be coming back to sabotage you. They're not going to be thinking about you at all. You'll never see or hear from them ever again if they are in a state of elevation and they're having a good time without you. And especially if they do have better options, or at least what they deem to be a better option. Because of course a better option for them is a fool. It's someone who's naive. And once that's what we were to them. But yeah, these are the 5 reasons why the narcissist will never move on. 1 is rejection, which causes a narcissistic injury. And of course, because they don't self-reflect, they don't deal with their shame, then they can't move on from that. So then they deflect it onto you. They shift the blame. They create a false narrative. 3 is envy and jealousy. They know that you will be better without them, so they try to contain you. 4 is their white lies and perception management, which then turns into hundreds of lies, smear campaigns, and they then start to see it as being easier and more beneficial to contain you, rather than to actually deal with all of their lies and manipulations and the false reality that they have created, because it gets to a point where it grows and it becomes bigger than them. So they just kind of give up on that, and they give up on trying to take the false reality apart, because it becomes more powerful than them. And instead, all they can do is just take a back seat and go along with it. And the fifth reason is the anxiety, boredom, and depression. Now, those alone, those are three main reasons why they will never move on. Because if they could find a way to deal with their anxiety, boredom, and depression, then they probably could move on. But all of these reasons together, they're all really individual reasons why the narcissist will never move on. Some of them, perhaps they could still move on regardless of that, such as their envy and jealousy, and the white lies and perception management. But definitely the narcissistic injury and the shame avoidance, the anxiety, boredom and depression, they're not going to be able to move on without resolving those things first. If you're finding this video helpful for you so far, please do give it a thumbs up down below. It really helps the YouTube algorithm to get this very important message out there to survivors of narcissistic abuse who don't understand why the narcissist cannot move on. But another thing I'd like to say as well is how many of you, and this really comes down to envy and jealousy more than anything else, but they've targeted your self-esteem. They've devalued you over such a long period of time. And you're looking at it like, why can't they move on? What is so special about you? And it's because you can't even see yourself. You can't see how wonderful you are. In terms of physical attractiveness, success, your qualities, your accomplishments, it's like you can't even see it. You become numb to it. You become desensitized. You just see it as normal because you're around a narcissist, even though they're not even a fraction of your worth. And yet you can't even see it because they've entrained you to view yourself as less than you actually are, and to view them as so much more. So that's really envy and jealousy. But it's another important thing to take note of as well. But for all of you who are being abused and harassed by these narcissists, this video is definitely one to take note of. These are very important reasons for why they can't move on. And I want you all to keep safe and to protect yourself from abuse, harassment. As you know, that is a very important thing to me, is to protect you and to make sure that you are safe. Now I'm going to take a look at the live chat. Let's see what everyone is saying. And if you have any questions as well, let me know. I will read them out and respond to them. BB says, once you educate yourself, it's easy to get over them. Took me a day. I was really surprised, but all I did was look from their point of view. None of it was real, so why be heartbroken then? I mean, usually it's not going to take just one day for someone to move on from a narcissist. It depends on how invested you were into the relationship, the type of narcissist you were dealing with, and how long the relationship lasted. But no one can really say how long it will take you to move on. It does depend on the individual, but I would say give it at least the minimum 6 months to 1 year for you to fully move on. If you feel like you're moving on very quickly, the odds are that you are just not dealing with the shame, and instead you're numbing yourself. You have to feel it. You have to process these emotions. That is how you heal. And this is how these narcissists, they become so messed up as they age, because they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions. And unfortunately, this can happen to us as well. But then also, when we're dealing with these types of people, we do need to have a barrier that protects us from them. We do need to create a false character of our own just to deal with them, so that they can't penetrate it and affect who we really are inside. Of course, that's easier said than done. It does take time to educate yourself so that you can keep the best parts of yourselves for someone who will love and respect them. But yeah, I mean, really, I would say at least 6 months to 1 year, depending on how long the relationship was and how severe the abuse was. And let's not forget the shared fantasy, this narcissistic delusion that has been fed to you. It's going to take time for you to move on past all of that. Miss Catera Love says, thank you, the sky looks beautiful and the video is perfect. I'm really glad to hear that. I'm actually really enjoying the view here as well of this this park and this little pond here. That's why I came down here for. I'm hoping that these fountains are going to come on later. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I will post it onto my stories soon. If you don't know, my Instagram is Narc Survivor YouTube. You can follow me on there. But yeah, that's another thing to note as well, is that, as I always say, just being out in nature. Going to a park, a pond, a lake, walking in the forest, a waterfall, even walking on the beach. All of these things are very healing. Interacting with nature. And why is that so healing? Why does that soothe your soul? It's because it's natural. It's authentic. So definitely, just like me, get out into nature. Explore these things. Don't get so distracted with these stupid narcissistic fantasies that have been fed to you that aren't even real. And also these delusions that have been fed to you about yourself. None of that is real as well. I mean, think about it. If a person can't even see themselves, they can't even see themselves as they actually are, realistically, how are they supposed to see you? How are they supposed to see who you are if they think that they're perfect, they're flawless and faultless? They can never know you. They can never see you. And I know I keep touching my shades. I really need to get them seen again. Something happened a few weeks ago where I knocked the shades and Upstart says, have you ever considered that you're the narcissist? That's a very interesting question. I'm not sure if someone asked that before or not. But yes, of course, I most definitely have questioned myself on a number of occasions if I was the narcissist, especially earlier on when I was learning about this, because, and I think we all do, it makes sense, because what they do is they shift the blame onto us. They make us feel like everything is our fault, as though we're such bad people. So of course you're going to question yourself about it, especially in the beginning, especially after they've discarded you, they blamed you for everything, they smeared your name. But here's the thing, if you are self-reflecting and you're taking personal responsibility, even for things that were not even your fault, there's no possible way that you could be a narcissist, because they're never going to do that. And I know we do see these self-aware narcissists on YouTube, but what you've got to understand about that is that they have been in therapy for years. So if any of us here are narcissists, we wouldn't be able to sustain ourselves while having this self-reflection and taking accountability for things. It just wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be sustainable. So for anyone who has been questioning themselves, these are all important things for you to take note of. So in answer to Upstart's question there, yes, of course, I have questioned. I have considered that I could have been the narcissist, and of course I know myself that it's not me. I've always tried to take accountability for everything, for things that I never should have taken accountability for. And I always tried to do far more than what I should have done. I always had too much empathy, too much compassion, to where I just lost myself. So I hope that bit of self-reflection helps those of you that are watching, those of you who may be questioning if you're the narcissist. It's highly unlikely. Upstart says again, bravo, spoken like a true narcissist. I didn't realize that was a troll. I actually thought that was a genuine question there, so sorry about that. Hi Fly G123 says, takes time to recover from the gaslighting. Yes, it definitely does take time to recover from the gaslighting, because it's your beliefs about yourself and the people in the world around you. You have been manipulated, indoctrinated for a very specific reason, to validate this person's false image and to make them feel like there's nothing wrong with them and they're not accountable for anything. And that's very important to them, is for them to get your validation. Because what better than someone who is real, someone who is true? They want that person's validation more than anyone else's. I do apologise as well for all of the trolls in the live chat on their behalf. Unfortunately, this is an epidemic in the world today. A lot of people do have personality disorders and mental illnesses. And as I just mentioned, they're looking for people who are genuine, people who are not dishonest and immoral, because that then validates them more. It doesn't mean much for them to get validation from someone who's already just fake, corrupt, a liar, a con artist. It doesn't mean much for them to get that from them. Much better for them to get it from someone who's being real, honest, genuine, and trustworthy, because it's more credible then, it's more believable for them. But of course, they're never going to tell you that, because then that destroys their false perceptions of themselves. David Ariola says, thank you for your words, so helpful for me right now. It's 3 a.m. I can sleep for all of this. Really glad to hear that, David. That's why I do what I do, to bring you support, to bring you comfort. And also, so you're just aware of the truth and what's really going on. And it means so much to me to get this validation from you, especially with all of these trolls on here these days. It's great to have that encouragement from you, because that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me knowing that these messages are needed. So definitely do not stop with the support and encouragement on here. Let's work together to get these videos out there. Miss Catherine Love says, a lot of narcissists come online to take out their negativity onto others. Oh, they do. And that's why my highlight video on the channel is Narcissists Are Haters. And it's a very descriptive video of how and why they hate. It's because that's what they've got to give. How a person treats you is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. You can't treat a person in a way that you do not already feel about yourself inside. And that's why that's exactly what they do. Keisha says, are narcissists deliberate time wasters, and do they want to be the center to your schedule? I would say yes, they most definitely are time wasters. I mean, they've wasted their entire lives by being fake, by being liars, manipulators, con artists, instead of doing something real. So of course they want to waste your life as well. And that's another reason why they can't move on, because they know you're going to be out there somewhere living a genuine life, and they're still going to be fake. So they want to incorporate you in all of that so that they don't feel so alone. Moonmist says, can you give examples of everyday under the radar narcissism, please? I would like to refer you to my playlist on the narcissist modes of behavior. These are videos I did several years ago, but I do believe that they are still relevant even today. I've done videos such as the the sensitization mode that they go into, and there's also the observation mode. There's various other ones as well, but these are all just everyday tactics that they use in order to disrupt their targets and keep them off balance. And you will see this in everyday life, just wherever you go. You always get these people who always have something negative to say. They always have to downplay you. They give you backhanded compliments. They're always looking at the negative rather than the positive because they feel negative about themselves inside. And that's what they've got to project onto you. Just looking through the live chat, I appreciate all of the kind words there. I appreciate all the encouragement, it means a lot. Sentinel 87 says they are obsessive, especially if they've taken notice of an empath. I do believe I did speak about this in detail in a recent video, and I did kind of brush up on it a little bit in this one as well. It all comes down to you just being genuine. You're sincere. When you say something, you mean it. When you say you're going to do something, you will. You stick to your words and you're just honest, moral, trustworthy, reliable. You're pure and they're foul, corrupt and contaminated. And it's almost like human nature. It's like damaged human nature to where they've got this poison inside of themselves and they want to inject that into you. They want to poison drip you because that's what they've got to give. They're infected, they're traumatized, they're damaged, and they lack the internal strength to be able to deal with that, to heal from it. So they just go and dump their toxic negativity onto you. So that's why I believe why they do obsess when they see an empath. And of course, because it's very rare, they come across you and they never know if they will ever find anyone like that ever again. Because we are that rare, we are just 1 to 2% of the world's population, although you may be misled by thinking that empaths are everywhere because there's so many covert narcissists. And what do? They take our style. They act like they're the same as us when no, they're actually just master manipulators. But yeah, these narcissists, they will never move on. If you are a good source of supply to a narcissist, and as I said, you are sincere, you're genuine, you're reliable, you're honest and pure, almost like a child, you just go along with it. They can just pull you along, string you along. get you to validate them. They can use the mask on you. As long as you're that way, they will keep coming back. And that's a big part of the problem, because there's really not too much that you can do about that. When someone is genuine, you can't really hide it. Because we never learned how to manipulate, we never learned how to lie. We never learned how to do any of those things. And that's why it's so difficult for these narcissists to move on, because they're just thinking, no matter what they've already done to you, all they're going to do is come back, put their mask on, and they can manipulate you all over again. And you're going to be none the wiser. So that's what really makes it difficult for them to move on as well. And especially since it's so rare for them to find someone like that. So that's why they hold on to you. But what we got to make sure is that we can move on. We got to be able to go within ourselves and to heal. And we have to be able to process the emotions the way that they made us feel. We've got to be able to process that, reflect on it, rather than just denying or suppressing it, because that's not going to make it go away. That will control you, and you will begin to feel heavier. It will begin to weigh you down. And then you may start experiencing anxiety, depression. You will feel like something is wrong, because there's something inside of you that you need to attend to. And of course, you're not going to feel right around narcissists. Actually, that's a good sign of healing, is when you do feel very uncomfortable around them. If you feel comfortable around them, that's a very bad sign. That means that you are disconnected from yourself. When you connect back to yourself, as Ross Rosenberger said in his videos, you will begin to see narcissists everywhere. And you'll become even more sensitive to it and less tolerant. You won't want to be around it anymore. You'd rather just be by yourself. So that's a good sign that you're healing. And if you remember, when you were in the relationship, you became comfortable with it. You tolerated it. Because then you were broken, you were traumatized. You didn't understand what was happening. And of course, what happens is water seeks its own level. Birds of a feather flock together. So when we're broken and traumatized, we're trauma bonded to them. We keep going back to them. We like to be around them. But once you begin to realize your worth, once you reflect and you process these emotions, then you will begin to feel very uncomfortable around them. I don't know if these fountains are ever going to turn on. It may be once the sun starts to go down. I'm hoping to see them today. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, you will know I do like my fountains. There was a nice big fountain in, I I think it was Rizal Park in the Philippines. I did a few videos there. I just like anything to do with water. Water is a beautiful thing. Our bodies, after all, are made up of 85% water, I think it is. I know there's a lot of invalidation and troll comments here. I don't even bother reading them because I could just annihilate them in a second. I am well rehearsed on everything about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. There's really nothing that gets past me at this point. There's nothing that anyone can say to knock me off balance if it's anything on this topic. I mean, keep in mind, I've been studying this every day for hours every day for 6.5 years. So that's one thing that amazes me, is that these trolls keep coming back. Of all channels, they come to mine. Like Rick Knight says, you focus way too much on narcissism. It's too easy to put that label on everything. These trolls are so disconnected from themselves, they can't even see that it's like, forget about whatever you said. The question is, what are you doing here? On a video where people are clearly finding benefit from this, they believe that they're dealing with someone who's narcissistic. Who are you to come in here and say who's a narcissist and who's not? If someone feels like they're being victimized by someone, they're being harmed. For all you know, a number of people in here may have been physically or sexually abused by a narcissist. And yet they want to come in here and invalidate these people. It's really sick when you think about it. Sometimes I wonder, what do these people think that narcissism is? Do they think that it's just a negative comment? There's so many people who will watch this video, their lives have been ruined. Their future is very different to how it could have been if they were not around them. But what we got to understand is that many of these trolls are narcissists as well. And research has shown this. I've even seen videos on YouTube. I'm sure some psychologists have mentioned that as well, is that trolls are highly narcissistic and they may have some kind of mental illness. And that's why we do need to be very careful, because trolls, like covert narcissists, they will do anything to try to fit in. Anything they can do, they will do anything just to be a part of our group, to be of something real and genuine, because they know whatever they got, that's all fake. That's all a bunch of BS. So they want to get in with us and they will pretend to go along with it. They will do anything. They will even try to blend in and act like they're one of us, as though they're against abuse, they're against any form of harm to someone. When really they're not. They just come in, they infiltrate, and then they try to figure out how they're going to take it all apart. (411W44) says, I love the Philippines. Yeah, I also had a good time there as well. I was there for about 6 months. But I did find that it was very noisy in the city area. So if I do go back there again, I'd rather go to the provinces. But not gonna lie, I did meet a lot of cool people. I went on a few dates and I explored a lot of places. So yeah, it was pretty good for me as well. Shopping person says 4 years and still narcissistic abuse hits me mentally. I wouldn't normally want to set a time limit for someone's healing, but honestly I would say 4 years is a bit too long. If the narcissist is not still an active presence in your life, you should be healed by that point. Now, there is no magical moment where you're going to feel like you're finally 100% healed. This is an ongoing process. It's kind of like going to the gym. You must maintain yourself. So there shouldn't be a moment where you feel like you're 100% complete, but rather it's a gradual process as you gradually begin to feel better. But if it's 4 years and you still feel like you're being affected by the trauma and by what happened to you, that's not a good sign. And I would suggest that you do seek support. You're welcome to book a one-on-one session with me, which you can do on my website, narcsurvivor.co.uk. Also, I am partnered with BetterHelp. You can book a session with a licensed therapist or psychologist on there. It's a very good deal that I offer. I believe it's 4 1-hour sessions a month for just £140. Of course, normally just a 1-hour session with a psychologist, that could be over £100 alone there. So it's a good deal. And you could book that through BetterHelp. It's betterhelp.com/narcsurvivor. I've used it myself in the past and it was very helpful for me. When I felt so alone, I felt so invalidated, I really needed some clarity, some support, and it was there for me when I needed it. So that's why I'm partnered with them and why I like to promote their services. Bill Chill 47 asks about financial control by the narc. I have done a few videos on that already. I did one video a few years ago of how the narcissist wants your money. Again, this goes back to envy and jealousy. They're envious of you. They want to be you. They want to leech off of your hard work and success. And yeah, they just want what you have because they're very lazy and unmotivated. they just can't operate at your level of productivity. And this is why many of them are con artists. They cheat, lie and steal, because they see it as being much easier for them. They don't know any other way to get the things that they need. And this is typically because they didn't have the correct guidance from a parent who should have been there for them, who should have been an accomplished individual who could have given them the tools in order for them to succeed in whatever area or environment that they wanted to succeed in. So essentially it's like you become their sugar daddy, their parents. But rather, instead of you teaching them or giving them the tools, they want you to act as their life support and to sustain them for the rest of their lives while they leech and parasite off of you. But I think I'm about done here. My throat is hurting. A lot of tension and anxiety and music blasting. I was going to do a video in the hotel room, but there was a lot of noise and renovations there as well. But I've kind of just accepted it that wherever I go in this world, there is going to be a lot of noise, there is going to be a lot of distractions, and unfortunately for you, you have to see it, you have to listen to it. But I try to manage it as much as I can. And I hope that the message of these videos, the information that I give, I hope that it outweighs any distractions, any noise, or any interruptions in the signal. Because that's number one. That's the most important thing. Again, thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. I appreciate your encouragement and support. You can give this video a thumbs up down below. I really appreciate it. Hit subscribe and click all notifications to be notified when I go live in the future. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I read your comments every day. And donations are greatly appreciated, no matter how small. You can donate on my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also follow me on Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. I post every day on there. Alright, thank you all for joining me. And as always, I look forward to speaking with you in another live video very soon.